himself getting passed by multiple cars, as I mentioned earlier on. So Nuhoff in a very precarious situation, but he often finds himself in these places. He doesn't qualify as well as he races.
Up front, they are getting with Lee Aberdeen and Luca Varani, not very far apart at all here. But I just want to see how Alistair Haig deals with Marcello Kessler coming around the old hairpin.
I would say it's not the best decision they've ever made, just not having done that under the safety car, really.
Yeah, they're taking their pit stop strategies from Ferrari lately or something. What's going on?
In turn one, just too much gas on them, too much feet on the out pedal, and unfortunately he's dropped him all the way down the order. But Philip Hammer is out in front by an 8.91 seconds. Dan Michael is a wall there, sir. And it definitely doesn't want to be hitting that earlier on as well.
Difficult, the understeer is in the dirty air through that final corner because it's such a long corner and you get dragged off into the grass very easily. He'll have the slipstream down towards the chicane. Peterson was briefly alongside, but that slipstream has saved him and kept him in third.
Yeah, Varani now lost a little bit of time to Aberdeen, about half a second. Peterson is Pike's pushed Morton forward up ahead. He's got out of line. Is now Pike going to have a go at Werrell? Don't push him off. He's in the championship fight. Jack Werrell chasing down Carl Jacklin. Further down, Rob Williams and Chris Barnes.
Sensational run outside line now though for the heavy braking zone. Around the outside goes the Audi R8.
Look how much Miller's caught back into play. Exactly. Miller's still start trouble. He's left on second and change. All of a sudden, Miller's back in play.
Moving on to the back end of Phil Jocelyn. So there's been a lot of movers and shakers in this first 2 laps here for race.
Absolutely serious racing league. Everybody's a lot have fun. Yeah, it's all about the entertainment. So I hope everybody is enjoying themselves out there in the chat. We know that Ron is enjoying himself watching. And Burger King machine's off into the grass a little bit there. Is that really bunching up now?
Does he have it?
Medeiros is going to get it.
Oh,
Medeiros is
they're
going
going
to
to toss it. They haven't got it.
He's on the outside line though, going into the fastest corner on the circuit. Surely this can't work.
Dominic Ligner has got a sensational run outside line now though for the heavy braking zone. Around the outside goes the Audi R8.
Look how much Miller's caught back into play. Exactly. Miller's still start chopper. He's not on second and change. All of a sudden, Miller's back in play.
Can Barry do it? Big Barry's going to do it. Big Barry.
Hello everybody and welcome back to the Radical Race Series for round 8 in the final season of 2023. We visit the Virginia International Raceway for the third of 3 American circuits in 5 rounds here through the midpoint of this season. This is the last trip to North America until the penultimate round of the season, where we'll be going to Canadian Time at Sports Park, when the championship will certainly be up for grabs in that race. It sort of is right now as well, because we've got a very, very interesting situation indeed developing with 5 rounds to go, including this one. My name is Ewan O'Leary. I'll be alongside James Parfitt once again for the 8th week in a row as we continue on through this Radical Race Series season, and it's been one of the closest for a little while. It always is still close by this point in the season, but not always, between 4 different drivers.
Like normal here as well. We are coming down to the nitty gritty. Luke Maxwell, Simon Edwards, James Barry, John McHutchinson, all fighting for the championship. So, should we have a look at the standings and see where we sit at the moment?
Yeah, Luke Maxwell's double podium, a first and a second, got him the championship lead at the end of the round last time out. John McHutchison slipped to second. He's now tied with Simon Edwards. I'm not actually sure how our racing has decided to split them, but it may just be alphabetical, to be fair.
I think, yeah.
Maybe alphabetical in terms of first name, but by the way, in case you start wondering, we don't know the alphabet. Anyway, they're tied on points. James Barry is in 4th place, and then you've got the rest who are sort of adrift at this moment. The screen will have to go away for a second while we're switching session. Don't worry about that. Paul LeMay and Paul Clark are in 5th and 6th. Better Mike Pooson, who's only a point ahead of Ben Underdown, who's having a good returning season. Paul Crabb has got his way up to 9th now in the standings, ahead of Sergio De La Cruz, who rounds out the top 10. James Child is 11 points further back in 11th, ahead of Jamie Bird. Then it's Seth Brown in the bright green car. He's 13th, ahead of Michael LeMay and Darryl Taylor, who round out the top 15. Robert Woodward is a further near 20 points back, with Damien G, the first of the drivers to have scored less than 100 points. Then we've got Wayne Palmer, who's tied with him. George Gonzaga and Phil Jocelyn round out the top 20. Clark Williams and Phil Glover are tied on 81, with James McRitchie still sort of enjoying that feature race win from Spa that, of course, he got a few weeks ago. Graham Brown and Martina Ward round out the top 25. Then we've got Paul Godden and Kian Palmer, who've been missing from a few rounds this season. They've thankfully been back in recent weeks. David Ralston, Andy Thomas and Tom Minor are not too far separated on points to round out the top 30. Patrick Charlton is on 22 in 31st, and I think Chris Max Davis is 32nd. He's normally at the bottom of our standings. I think he's only done 1 round so far this season, and normally finds himself at the bottom of the standings. And we've got Alan Peterson, of course, as well, of course, in 33rd. And they are all the drivers who have taken part in the Radical Race Series this season. It's been a good season for attendance, it's got to be said. And we've got another 20 on the grid at what is traditionally a pretty unpopular, unfamiliar circuit.
Yeah, I don't mind this circuit. I'm joining this in TCR. It's not that I did very well. But I don't actually mind it. I quite like VIR. I quite like the situation, you know, and we put the Clios on here this year. We did the VIR short circuit. So down the end of the snake, before they get into turn 7, we made them turn right, and they did the little squiggly through down into the roller coaster. And it was a really interesting and exciting race. And I think, to be fair, I don't actually mind this circuit. Like, there are circuits, as we know, where I come out and I get the grumps and I'm like, nope, don't like this one. But I actually like VIR. I think it can deliver good racing. You've got the long straightaway between 12 and 14, obviously what was previously the oak tree that's not there any longer. And of course, that snake section from 6A all the way down to 10, it can deliver great racing. And the thing is, as well, let's be honest here, Ewan, we are looking at the Radical Race Series, right? You know, it's always great racing. We're always off our feet. Well, I am, or, you know. But it's always great racing. And I think that's the thing. It's still going to be great racing. And I don't see it being any different here, to be honest. I'm really looking forward to this one. I think it's going to be an epic evening of racing.
Not one of my favourites personally, but in terms of racing or watching actually, but the F3 series that we cover on Sunday on JPB was that you do as well, James, was very entertaining around this venue this week. So I've got high hopes after that race actually about the racing here tonight as well. In terms of distances, all the races, by the way, are the same amount of time, but to give you a lap on that, 8 laps for the sprint and 14 for the feature. So the shortest feature we've had for a couple of weeks. It's the shortest one we'll have until the end of the season, barring Bathurst, which comes up in a couple of weeks' time. We're currently following Darrell Taylor, but it's going to be Simon Edwards who crosses the line first and will set the benchmark for the rest. Then Luke Maxwell is a 40.9 from Edwards, a 41.6 from Maxwell. That's quite a big difference between those two at the end of the first round of times. You don't often see that.
Yeah, but are we really that worried? You know, it was a completely different story in practice. Simon Edwards was still at the top, but it wasn't a big, massive gap. And I think that's the thing. We talk about gaps as if they're huge. You know, it's like, what is it, barely 7/10 of a second? 7/10 is like an eye blink. You know what I mean? So I'm not overly worried about that situation because we know Maxwell can come through. And that's the thing with Luke Maxwell. He almost took the double last week at Brands as well. So he got the sprint race win and he finished second in the feature. So for Luke Maxwell, I don't think we really need to worry. For this man, however, for Simon Edwards, currently sitting in that third spot, tied with John McCutcheon. Don't get me wrong, they're only 4 points apart here, Ewan, so it's not a massive difference that they've got to go and contend with. And I think, to be honest, this running is going to be absolutely amazing. And with 65 points up for grabs for the first places here tonight, I think there could be a good old shuffle by the time we get around, especially with the man that's just put it on second, James Barry. If he can get a good one here, he's going to put himself right up within the mix as well.
He didn't leave the pit lane very quickly there. It has given him a lot of free track space, but it will maybe mean that he has one less chance than those around him. Simon Edwards is absolutely flying once again, though. He doesn't exactly need to go faster right now, but he is going to anyway. A 40.9 is his best lap so far, and this is going to be even better. He doesn't improve in the final sector, but that won't matter. It's a 140.5 to go nearly a second quicker than the rest. And in the end, he did need to go quicker because now Luke Maxwell has almost matched his first time there at 140.9 from him. So Edwards still in control of this session, staying one step ahead of Luke Maxwell so far.
Yeah, it's a bit of a surprise to see this man down in 14th at the moment. Paul LeMay. Mike Busson's just gone and put himself in 4th. Wherever is Paul LeMay? There you go. Yeah. That's better. He jumped up into 3rd here. I want to pick up on James Barry's lap because he is just coming on the run from 12 to 14. I'm not quite sure where 13 goes on this track map, to be honest, but he is coming down into this section. Now, obviously, this is the roller coaster section. It's very undulating. It's a tough part of a circuit. You've got to get very early on the brakes for that left hand around 16 and 17, and then you've got the sweeping long corner for 17 and 17A. It is a very tough circuit, that end section, and that snake section can really catch you out as well. What is Barry going to do? He's got greens on the board. He goes second, only 3/10 off. Don't get me wrong, Simon Edwards has got 2 purples and 2 yellows, but it depends on what that offset is against each other as he's on his run down from 15 to 16.
It's a pretty fast-paced session so far. I think Simon Edwards is going to continue this run of fastest laps, though. A couple of purple sectors on this one. Maybe this will start his penultimate lap at VIR. Let's see as he makes his way up towards the line now. 1:40.5 the time to beat his own time, of course. He goes over the line and does beat it, but only very slightly. It wasn't exactly a big improvement. That's not going to push it out of the possibilities for anyone. That was a slow one from Luke Maxwell. He's going to pick it up again on this next lap.
Yeah, he's going to have to on that one. He was very, very slow on that. A 1:43. That is definitively not Luke Maxwell's pace, as we've got Paul and May just coming up on that run into that start-finish line. He only does a 1:43. Buson on a 1:49, unless there was an incident with Buson and somebody there as well, because it did look like we had the Phil Glover on the side of the circuit. One of the other things as well is Sergio De La Cruz is not on the pace this week either. And, you know, he's very up and down, isn't he? And I find Sergio sometimes a little bit confusing, because he comes across like, at times with his pace, that he can mix it up the front. And then there's times when you sit back and he's that mid-runner from 5 to 15. It's really difficult to gauge what kind of Sergio we're going to get on a week-to-week basis. So I'm a little bit surprised that he's all the way down in 12th. I would have thought he would have been a little bit higher than that. But it's not a surprise as such in the way that you sit back and go, oh, De La Cruz is all the way down there. Because sometimes you just don't really know what De La Cruz is going to turn up. You know, you've got the fast De La Cruz, and then you've got the one that kind of that we've got here at VIR, which is a bit of a shame, really.
Well, he's still top 10 in the standings at the moment. He did get into 10th place with his results last time out at Brands Hatch, of course. That's where we were 1 week ago. He's making his way up towards the line now as De La Cruz, but he hasn't improved on any sector apart from the first. He also improved in the last. Did he improve by enough in those? Yes, he does get into the top 10 as well. That's exactly where we expect to see him, really. Clark Williams having a couple of improving sectors at the moment. It seems to be a slow end to this session. Not really sure why everybody's coming to the pit lane, to be honest, because you know it's not like the old days where we only have 3 laps per session. It's 10 minutes and as many laps as you can do with everybody out there together. But seems that everybody's sort of given up now with 30 seconds remaining. Martina Ward's off the road as well, and that'll be the end of her session.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. Unless you're going to finish the lap, there's not really much point trying to carry it on, because you're not going to get it on the board. For everybody, really, apart from James Barry and Simon Edwards, who are possibly the only two that might actually get this last run in, there's really nobody else that's going to finish. You know, down in 14th is Phil Glover. He's not really going to finish either. So, unfortunately for Phil, he's going to miss out once more here as well. So, it's going to be tough.
Just over 0.2 of a second then between Simon Edwards and James Barry, as Barry just improved ever so slightly at the very end of that session. Let's take a look at the grid then for the first race of the evening, and it will be Simon Edwards and James Barry on the front. Luke Maxwell, the other championship contender, who was in that session, of course, in the top 3 there. Paul LeMay in 4th position, ahead of Mike Bousson and Jamie Bird, who are on row 3. Then it's Paul Clark and Clark Williams, who share row 4. Sergio De La Cruz, and then Michael LeMay with another good qualifying there. Top 10 for him to put him on that 5th row. Martina Ward and James McRitchie just missed out there, finishing on row 6 in that qualifying session. Kean Palmer and Phil Glover are on row 7 ahead of Darryl Taylor and Damien G. Then it's Phil Johnson and Wayne Palmer on row 9 ahead of Alan Patterson, Robert Woodward and John McCutcheon, who snuck in at the end of that qualifying session, as he so often does, to begin racing here tonight in race number 1. He always does it, and John McCutcheon will be starting this time from 21st.
Yeah, are we worried? I'm not really that worried about John starting that far down, to be honest. He normally starts that far down and ends up within 7th or 8th or wherever he will end up. So I'm not overly worried about that kind of situation. I think they, you know, but John McCutcheon said he'll start making his way through the field, but we're going to be up and running.
Certainly are. We'll Get the lights on and the first race at VIR underway as Simon Edwards gets off to a good start from the front row. It's Luke Maxwell who's had the Stormer though from third position, who get to the inside of James Barry on the way in towards the braking zone for turn one. Make sure you don't brake too late and go barrelling into the 5-time champion. They all do get through relatively cleanly, and yes, they make it through the first turn but not the second one. It's contact, I'm afraid, further back as John McCutcheon gets into Clark Williams, was that maybe? Not entirely sure. Wayne Palmer's dropping down the order as well after an incident at NASCAR Bend. We'll have some replays of the start a little bit later on because there was a little bit of contact and it involves John McCutcheon in the race for the title.
Yeah, it definitely did. McCutcheon got into it there with Clark Williams. He made it through on the inside. Didn't make the exit, though. That's the problem. Paul Clark, Sergio De La Cruz battling it out here with Phil Jocelyn and Phil Glover. The two Phils going at it once more. And it is Luke Maxwell who's trying to chase down Simon Edwards at the beginning. And that's the difficult thing. They've got to make sure to try and stay with a man in that car in front, in that first place with Simon Edwards. You let him get away, you're going to be in trouble. What about De La Cruz and Paul Clark? Well, it looks like De La Cruz is looking to make that move as he's coming up now on that long run down.
It's the run into the roller coaster which turns the inside to the outside and vice versa for whichever, whether you turn in on the right or the left. But Sergio De La Cruz makes his way through. Paul Clark, and off the road is Jamie Bird. It's a spin from Jamie Bird on the exit of the roller coaster. I'm not sure he was with anyone there. I think he just dropped it on his own. But he's spun in front of the field. Smoke screen for everyone as well. But they all make it through, and that means everyone's promoted. Sergio De La Cruz promoted to 6th place.
Yeah, it looks like Jamie Bird at a moment on his own there. If we have a look at the John McCutcheon and also Clark Williams situation, you can see Williams comes over, squeezes McCutcheon, and unfortunately McCutcheon goes off with Williams. Now we've got the incident with Kean Palmer as he's coming out of the horseshoe on that run down into NASCAR Bend. I've got a funny feeling he's going to carry too much speed. It is, the back end's going to step out on him once more. So unfortunately for him, Mike Bousson was another man that had a little bit of an excursion on that run through South Bend. There you go for Mike. He's gone off the side of the circuit. And last but not least is Jamie Bird, and see what he got himself up to as well as he's coming down into the roller coaster. The right-hander all on his own, too much speed, and around he goes. But then we've got Darrell Taylor somewhere coming along the line, who also has his own little moment coming through the final corner, I believe, here as well. So yeah, for Darrell Taylor, that looked quite bizarre there. But everybody apart from that up and running safely. Phil Glover still battling away with Wayne Palmer now, and Luke Maxwell still trying to get a hold of Simon Edwards.
Yeah, apologies earlier on, by the way. I said Wayne Palmer was the one who went off. It was Kean, as you say, and not Wayne Palmer, who finds himself in 13th at the moment. But just looking at the gaps in the field right now as we already complete a quarter of this race, bizarrely, at the end of lap 2, we can already see how difficult this circuit is because there's a lot of corners around here. Very, very technically challenging circuit is this Virginia International Raceway, and that is being proven here in the opening laps. A 41.0 from Simon Edwards would have actually got him decent. I think it would have got him on the second row of the grid maybe in qualifying. That's how quickly he's going this time in the race as he begins to extend an advantage and try and get away from Luke Maxwell.
Yeah, he's trying his hardest here, but Maxwell's keeping him honest. Of course, Maxwell's using that draft of that situation from 6A down into 7, and then of course from the oak tree at 12 down to 14 at the roller coaster. So Maxwell, as long as he can stay with him within that period of time, you can see in that first couple of that first sector, he does pull in time on Edwards, and Edwards seems to be able to open up the wheels on that car and get it a little bit more going in the second half of this lap. So they're coming in now through the South Bend before they go what was going into the oak tree. The oak tree, of course, is no longer there. It was on just there, and it isn't there anymore. So now they've got that run from the oak tree down into the roller coaster, and these three are going to kind of cramp quite up here, Ewan, partly due to that draft situation. So we'll keep an eye on it, see how it goes, and whether or not Maxwell's going to be able to get there.
Well, I'm not sure about this lap, but the straight is very long. You do need to be a bit closer than that, Luke Maxwell, if you want to make your way through, because it's a difficult braking zone uphill there, which shortens the distance and means that things can't go wrong quite so easily on the way up the hill if the braking zone and the braking distance is a little bit shorter. But also the nature of the entry to that corner, you've just got that flick to the left before the actual right-hander, means it's very, very difficult to make any long-range dives, and so Luke Maxwell is going to have to be closer than that if he wants to make a move. Luckily for us, he set the fastest lap of the race that time around, and James Barry is not too far away either. You'd imagine this fight for the win will commence at some point. Maxwell just needs to work on getting that little bit closer.
He definitely does, and one people that are close here is Phil Glover with Jamie Bird and Wayne Palmer. Bird's just gone up the inside of Palmer. John McHutchison trying to make his way through as well here as he's next going into Wayne Palmer, and hopefully we'll be able to go through not through Wayne Palmer, I should say around Wayne Palmer, as Phil Glover just takes a little bit of an excursion off the side of the circuit there. There is John McHutchison, cleared Palmer, now he's going to go after Glover. He's looking really at Phil Jocelyn, which is just at the top of your picture. I don't know if he's going to quite have enough to get hold of James McRitchie and Sergio Dela Cruz, but never say never, because as we know, John is a master in this SR10. So we'll see how he goes here and see how far he can make this up. What do we reckon? It's got to be top 10 for John McHutchison, surely.
Well, he's got to get there, yes. Whether he will or not is another problem. He's very close to Phil Glover there on the brakes. He'll take a late apex through the Oak Tree corner now and surely have that run on the straight. But Jamie Bird is not too far in front and will be offering up a bit of a slipstream to Glover as well as McHutchison here. But that does just to decrease the effect that McHutchison will be feeling. And so he's nowhere near, really. Nowhere near at all. The slipstream was nowhere near as effective as it needed to be for John McHutchison to make his way through, and so he finds himself stuck in 13th with just the second half of the race now to try and find his way through.
Yeah, he is here, but he's also got the opportunity to have a go down that front straight as John McHutchison. He can get him into the horseshoe if he can just get a little bit closer. Glover's not going to be picking up a massive amounts of draw from Bird. He's picking up milliseconds as Phil Jocelyn gets a blink on here as well. You can see McHutchison pull out. Glover's overshot it there. That's going to allow the Scotsman through, and he waited till he made a mistake, and he did make that mistake. Clark Williams has just lost a place to Damien G. You saw Damien G come through on the inside of us there, but Bird is now the next one up the road for John McHutchison. 1.2 seconds up the road. He's battling with Phil Jocelyn. The problem is Jocelyn's internet has been a little bit spiky this evening. We've seen him a couple of times blink and come back. So, well, there you go, right in front of him. So, you know, it's going to be hard for Bird. He's giving him loads and loads of room just to make sure he knows where he is on the circuit. Bird does make it through, but now for Phil Jocelyn, he's now got John McHutchison coming. So it's a bit of a different situation here for Phil Jocelyn. As you say, he has just gone off again, and McHutchison has made it through as he's now tracking down Jamie Bird.
He will do. That was a good move to make for John McHutchison. Didn't want to spend too much time behind Jocelyn at all. Damien G is off at the Oak Tree corner, I'm afraid, and one of the Palmers went off there as well. I couldn't tell you which one it was, to be honest with you, but off the road there on that last lap as well. Michael LeMay a couple of laps ago went off as well. That's why he's no longer inside the top 10, which is exactly where he qualified, of course, in this race. In terms of those who have made it inside the top 10 now who didn't qualify there, I think James McRitchie and Jamie Bird are the new entries into the top 10, but John McHutchison would like it to be him instead. And I think thankfully for his case, he's managed to make progress quickly enough that he can get there with the 3 laps remaining. He can get to the top 10, of course, and benefit from the reverse grid, which takes into account the top 10, of course, reverses them and sets us up for race 2 after this.
Yeah, it definitely does. Good evening, Phil, in YouTube chat as well. McHutchison last time out, 141.13, his fastest lap of the race. Jamie Bird, 141.82. So McHutchison has definitely got the bit between his teeth. One other man is this man, Luke Maxwell. He's trying to fight along here and trying to get on on to the back of Simon Edwards, because he needs to, coming into this oak tree before he goes round the right-hander and gets it buried onto that straight. Edwards takes a little bit of a different line to Maxwell there as well, gives it a little bit of a longer run, and then starts making that move. But you can see the draft now paying into effect. It's coming down 5-4, 5-3, 5-2, 5-1, 4-9. It's coming down quicker. We've still got a bit of meters to go. Now we start going into turn 14, and this is where we start battling into that roller coaster. Maxwell locked up, big puff of smoke there as well. Now it's all down to what Maxwell could do. That was Edwards locking up, sorry, not Maxwell. And now they're coming in. Now this is the opportunity. 2 laps to go for Luke Maxwell here, Ewan. He's just got to go for it.
There's a lot of understeer there through the final corner, and Simon Edwards knows the occasion, knows the stakes now that are at play, and just weaves around slightly to break the slipstream. 2 laps remaining here at VIR as we get the opening race of the evening underway and almost complete now for the Radical Race Series round number 8. It's Simon Edwards who leads Luke Maxwell at the moment, the championship leader we're riding on board with right now, and the protagonist, the 5-time champion driver he's gone up against on so many occasions through his Radical Race Series career. Now they do battle again through the first sector here at VIR. Maxwell staying very, very close to him. Went a little bit wide there. That may have been an off track. He just needs to stay closer, get a bit closer than this as well if he wants to make a move by the end of the back straight.
Here we go. This is the sector. This is the bit where Maxwell's got him. This is the bit where Maxwell closes it right up. But this is the run that Maxwell's not burying. You can see he lost a 10th just on that corner alone. Now we're 2 tenths off from the 3 tenths that we was, and now we're going into that 5 tenths section again. He needs to be within about 3 to 4 tenths to really make the most out of that. Edwards is weaving like me nan knitting a jumper, and you know, look at him, left, right, left, right, left, right, you know, trying to break it, and Maxwell's trying to stay with him, but they're both just adding miles onto their car distance on there. Now we're in that tricky roller coaster again, that left. Now we're going to drop down the hill to the right-hander on the brakes to get it round to that left-hander as well. Now you're coming into turn 16, the left. Now you're over the curb, dropping down once more, and off you go again. So there's a lot to this track, more than what I think most people know. And for Simon Edwards, he's got to try and get away from Luke Maxwell in this first sector, because this is where Maxwell's quicker. You can see it now. But for Maxwell, he's got to tidy up sector 2 and 3. He's not quite there in sector 2 or 3, Ewan.
And some people prefer that opening corner as a place to make a move as well, and if that is the place where Maxwell wanted to do it, then it's in the past now already. We're on the final lap here at this circuit, and Maxwell just can't seem to find his way through. I'm not sure whether it's a difficulty in the corners in terms of getting off the corners. I've certainly noticed a bit of understeer for him off the final turn, or whether it's difficulty in the straights, but for whatever reason Edwards is just pretty untouchable right now.
Yeah, he is, but Maxwell's giving himself an opportunity. He's now going to come in with a 2.5 tenths. We know he loses a 10th at South Bend. That's going to go up to about 2 tenths. If he goes into Oak Tree a little bit, here we go, there you go, there's that 10th that he's lost. 2 tenths, 3 tenths going in. Can he afford to lose another 10th? No, he's got to try and stay with him. It's back out to 5.5 tenths again, but he's a little bit closer than he was. Now this is it for Maxwell. This is his run, and his run only. I don't think he's going to get there, Ewan, and he's relying on Edwards making a mistake. But Edwards has been tidy all the way through this race. They're coming into 14 now. This is Edwards' race, as long as he keeps it on the track for the last part.
Well, he did have a lock-up a couple of laps ago at the roller coaster, did Simon Edwards, but Luke Maxwell hasn't been able to capitalise on anything. He's not been able to create his own chances either, which will provoke worry for him. But Simon Edwards is going to take a very, very important race win. He took the feature 1 week ago. It's going to be sprint race victory this time. A drag race towards the line almost, and the tightest of margins in the end. But Simon Edwards takes the win by just over 2 tenths of a second. Maxwell getting quicker again and again towards the end, setting the fastest lap on the last lap of the race as well. But it wasn't to be. Simon Edwards takes another win, and this time it's in the sprint race.
Yeah, it definitely is. But have you seen who's sitting down in 10th? He did it. He got the reverse grid pole.
Yep.
So now it's the Palmers of Wayne and Kian. I don't think they're related. Well, Well, they might be. I'm not sure. I've not heard anything. As Michael LeMay comes over the line there as well. But yeah, McHutchison did it. He got into that top 10. He got where he needed to be. And now is going to be on that sprint race pole here ready. Or the feature race pole, sorry, I should say. As everybody has come over the line. We'll show you the results very, very shortly when we get them through. But it was interesting that over that first sector for Luke Maxwell, he was losing time, and then we could see where he was almost going to lose it again. You know, that South Bend was a 10th easily, and that Oak Tree was another 10th. But there's the results there, Ewan.
Here we go. The results of the opening race of the day. It's Simon Edwards who takes the win ahead of Luke Maxwell, then James Barry, who actually fell a few seconds away towards the end. Paul LeMay was on his own there for quite a long time, and so was Mike Bousson, but they both finished inside the top 5. Paul Clark held off Martina Ward, Sergio De La Cruz, Jamie Bird to the line as well. John McCutcheon, as you mentioned, will get that reverse grid pole. Phil Jocelyn just missed out in his battle with James McRitchie towards the end. McRitchie actually losing a few places towards the end of that race. Through one reason or another. Phil Glover was in there as well. Clark Williams and Wayne Palmer round at the top 15. Kian Palmer confusingly finishes only one position behind in 16th. Then it's Michael LeMay, Darryl Taylor and Damien G of those who started the race. Unfortunately, we're not seeing the others in the race today. So that's the opening race of the day complete. Simon Edwards takes a few points back and takes a sprint race win on this occasion as well. It was his second feature race win 1 week ago. If he can do another one here, it'll be the full 65 points at the end of today.
Yeah, but he's got a tough one. Partly due to the fact who's sitting on pole. You know, John McHutchison is on pole. He's not been a slouch here. He's worked his way up from the back to 10th. And he probably would have been further if he hadn't had that incident with Clark Williams on lap 1. So for John McHutchison now, he's just got to go on his bike and get out here. I'm not going to put I think, to be honest, I wouldn't put my money on anybody else to take the feature win. I think John McHutchison could take it. Yeah, he lost points in that race, but I don't think he's going to be, overly worried when he knows he's sitting on pole for the feature race. I don't think that's going to be too much of a problem for him to deal with. I wouldn't be surprised if John McHutchison comes through and takes the victory like he probably is going to.
I would imagine so. And he really does need it as well, actually, for his championship, I've got to say, because with that result there, he slipped to 15 points behind Luke Maxwell and 14 behind Edwards. He's still a few ahead of Barry, but considering the gap that he had at the start of the earlier part of the season, will be worrying for John McHutchison. Let's have a look at the starting grid and we'll see that he will be on pole for this ahead of Jamie Bird. Sergio De La Cruz and Martina Ward will share row 2 with Paul Clark and Mike Bousson on row 3. Paul LeMay will hope to battle some people in this race as opposed to the first one. He'll be 7th ahead of James Barry. Then it's Luke Maxwell and Simon Edwards who've got a lot of work to do from there, not least to get through the opening lap here. Phil Jocelyn and James McRitchie will be on row 6 ahead of Phil Glover and Clark Williams. Kian Palmer and Wayne Palmer will share row 8 in the other order. Michael LeMay and Darryl Taylor will be on row 9 ahead of Damien G, who will likely bring up the grid. Don't think Patterson or Woodward will be making a start here. In fact, I know Woodward is not. I think he is watching on though, which is good to hear. The lights will now be coming on though for the second race here at VIR this evening. It's important for John McHutchison and he gets off to a decent start, although Jamie Bird alongside him as an absolute flyer. In towards turn 1 we go, and it's a very, very good start, but it's a long way round for Jamie Bird, and so John McHutchison holds on to the lead. Will they all get through the horseshoe cleanly? The answer is yes, at the front of the field anyway. I think James McRitchie, the only one who's found himself off the road. Now into NASCAR Bend they go. It's Phil Glover who's the victim of that corner, unfortunately. Off the road he goes to the back of the field as well. For the leaders though, it is a clean start.
Yeah, it is. Barry, Maxwell and Edwards battling it out here. They don't want to be going that. You don't want to be doing that. That is going to be jeopardising both your races going side by side up through the S's. You know what the situation is. If you get too close at some points, High Racing can deem it an incident and will spring one of them off in a completely different direction. So for James Barry, he's got to now try and stay with Edwards. Edwards is up 3 places already here. He has made a massive gain over this beginning sector. And now we're going on that run down from the oak tree, down into the roller coaster. Let's see if these guys will stay where they are. It's looking like Luke Maxwell is on the back of Paul LeMay as he's coming into that turn 14 now. For an ideal move, Maxwell could do with getting him. He could do with getting him before he gets into that. He doesn't look like he's going to get him here, Ewan. But Luke Maxwell is going to have to stay where he is. But John McCutcheon doing what he needs to do. But Jamie Bird got an absolute rocket start. I thought Bird was going to get him around that outside. He just didn't quite carry it enough round the outside of turn 1 to make it last. But now for Bird, he's got De La Cruz tucked up right behind him here as well. So De La Cruz is giving Bird a bit of grief, but Hutchinson leads the way at the end of that one.
Oh, that's a bit wide from De La Cruz we're riding on board with, but that's okay. Yeah, he did need to go a little bit further around the outside, did Jamie Bird really, but he didn't really want to, because there's risk that comes with that. If you're on the outside too viciously there at turn 1, then you can get pulled off by the grass and you'll never find your way back on the circuit, or it will take a long time anyway. So he tried to just run it round the outside and then decided that actually this is a lost cause really. I might as well took in second. And to be fair, I've been impressed with the way that he started this race. Thought John McCutcheon had the chance to completely run away with this one, but I thought he'd have more than a second by now indeed, but he certainly doesn't. He's being kept very honest by Jamie Bird.
Yeah, Paul Clark. You see Clark's got that gap to about 6/10 over De La Cruz, but he's also got his wingman in Paul LeMay tucked up right behind him as well. That's going to be even harder for the likes of Edwards, for the likes of Maxwell, all going to come at him here. Then they've got to try and go past one of the hardest defenders in the Radical Race Series, in of course Paul Clark. And this circuit will play into Clark's strength. It will play into his defending, because they haven't got many places to do this, and now they've got to try and do it on a tricky circuit in a tricky sector, and they're not going to do it here in sector, the last one. What is it? I think it's normally sector 3, but I think it's like sector 4 or 5 here. So they're not going to be able to do it this time around. So they've got to try and find a place to get past LeMay, to get past Clark cleanly within the next 12 laps, Ewan. And I can't see it being easy, because you can see the Eye Lounge Racing boys there. One takes the outside, one takes the inside, and they can't get through.
And that was a big stack up from absolutely everybody. Edwards, Barry and Booson almost ended up on top of one another in towards turn 1 there, as they all felt the effects of Paul LeMay's defending. LeMay is behind Clark, and it's Clark who's supposed to be the one who does that kind of thing, but no. And just to help us out, by the way, they've managed to find each other on the circuit as well, which doesn't actually always happen, Clark and LeMay, but they're confusing us even further by running line astern. It is Paul Clark followed by Paul LeMay. Don't get that confused, anybody, including me. So Simon Edwards gets very close to Maxwell on the run up the hill here. Through the S's they go. Now to South Bend, a wonderfully committed corner, and a bit too much commitment actually from LeMay there, as Maxwell will get very close. They'll all dive into the turn. This is busy stuff. Oh, and off the road is Jamie Bird. He's dropped it on the power again for the second time in 2 races. Jamie Bird has dropped it on the power. Last time at race 1, it was at the roller coaster. This time, it's coming out of Oak Tree. He was trying to get the best run possible onto the back straight here. It's not happened for him, and he'll be 3 wide now with the rest of them.
Yeah, Darrell Taylor, James McRitchie, I believe that's Clark Williams in the front there. Taylor's got the inside, McRitchie's got the outside. He squeezed him like an orange. James McRitchie put the squeeze on Darrell Taylor, and Taylor did at the end back out and think better of it on that one, because I'm not going to lie there, that could have been disastrous for Taylor, and he did back out in the end. But for Jamie Bird, it's absolutely horrendous. Dropped it coming out the corner of 12. Now we've got James Barry and Mike Bousson battling away. Then we've got Edwards still trying to get up the inside. Yeah, Maxwell's got past LeMay. Edwards is going to pass LeMay. Now they've got Paul Clark, the man mountain. The man, if he was a footballer, he would be any central defender. He would be the manager's first choice. He defends like a trooper. Now I've said that, he'll probably lose 2 places down the straight, but let's hope he doesn't for Paul Clark.
That's what happened to LeMay, unfortunately. As soon as one came through, then so did the other. It was Maxwell who did the bulldozing work, if you like, and Simon Edwards just walked through the snow, the cleared path, if you like, through the snow on that occasion, and so through they went. Then there's Paul LeMay, who I'm surprised was so easy to overtake there from Maxwell and Edwards. I've got to say, at least he stopped it at Barry and Busan as they battled away as well. It'll be interesting to the end though now, because Sergio De La Cruz is still in front of all these guys, don't forget. That could be interesting if they try and find their way through, but surely Paul Clark is not going to put up a defensive display like we see from him normally, because he's already got Luke Maxwell alongside him. Simon Edwards had the run on both of them there, but didn't have anywhere to go with it, and so he's just have to stay behind and watch. Round the outside goes Luke Maxwell, and through he goes as well. Paul Clark has not been able to defend at all here, and Simon Edwards will be hoping he can follow through at the next straight.
Yeah, he doesn't want to get held up. He's trying to clear Clark as soon as possible. But Paul, super wide Clark, as he's known in the Discord, he isn't called that just because he's a thin piece of paper. He makes that car so wide. He goes out on the defensive. He's looking up the inside of Maxwell. Backs everybody up again. He needs LeMay to put Edwards under pressure, does Clark at the moment. Don't forget, there's no pro-and-ams at the moment. This is all just a straight fight, so all of these can fight away without any issues here. There's no pro-and-am, there's no moving out the way. It is literally a straight fight, and you can see Edwards losing time. He's about nearly 9/10 to a second back from Maxwell already. Paul Clark, he's the man mountain. If he was a champagne bottle, he'd be the cork, I can tell you that much, because he would stop that coming out regardless of how hard it's shaking, and he's doing a great job with Edwards here, blocking him off all the way down. Now we're going to South Bend. Now we know that's Maxwell's Achilles heel. He looks like he's got the commitment this time. If he clears De La Cruz, I can safely say Edwards is going to be under a panic here. He needs to clear Clark, and how he's going to clear Clark, he's got the opportunity now.
Yeah, he does. He needs to do it before Maxwell gets De La Cruz, but it might happen at the same time here. Edwards making it clear he wants the outside line, and he's going to get it as well. He'll get the added slipstream. He'll get the desired line, and he'll have the place as well. Paul Clark can't hold on, and Simon Edwards goes through now as well. James Barry is still stuck. In terms of the title contenders, he's still stuck behind Paul LeMay, never mind Paul Clark. So he's got a lot of work to do, still sitting in 7th place in this race. That's only 1 place gained so far for James Barry after the end of 5 laps.
Yeah, it is. He's still got 9 on the board, though. He can still have a go. He's trying to run Paul LeMay round the outside. We're on board with Mike Buson. Buson's looking as well. He's got nowhere to go. LeMay takes that inside line. There was a big old puff of smoke from De La Cruz. Maxwell's through. Buson's got Barry. I think Buson has got Barry here. They're running side by side. Down through left hook, turn 4. And it is Barry's come back at Buson, but this is not helping their cause. They need to decide if they're going to fight or if they're going to go for it. Now it's Edwards' turn over De La Cruz, because he cannot afford to let Maxwell get away. He can't afford, because he won't get close to him. Edwards is on the left-hand side coming up through Snake. You can see him there as well. He tucks in right behind De La Cruz on that run through South Bend. That commitment corner we've already spoke about there, Ewan. He's now got to try and stay within a certain area. Edwards has looked strong through South Bend. He's looked strong through the oak tree. You can see Maxwell's nearly a second away. Edwards is a lot closer than Maxwell was in that sprint race. He should technically get De La Cruz, but it depends on what De La Cruz is going to defend. Is he going to defend the outside? Is he going to defend the inside? He's gone for the outside, and Edwards is going to get through anyway.
Yeah, I think he doesn't want to let Maxwell get away, but I think that may already have happened. Now it's side by side between Clark and LeMay, possibly into the roller coaster, and there's been contact. Oh, there's been massive contact. LeMay and Barry are both off the road. Let's see how this happened. Not entirely sure how, really. It's going to be 2 separate ones almost. James Barry gets very late on the brakes there, in fact. Gets straight into LeMay. I think it was a misjudgment from Barry, a mistake, an outbraking, and it sent them both off the road.
Yeah, as we can have another look at it here as well. You can see Paul LeMay there. He's just lost a place to Clark. Oh, technically LeMay does get a little bit loose though. So from LeMay's point of view, he did get a little bit loose, and that's put him now into contact with Clark Williams and James McRitchie. McRitchie going through on the inside, tried to have a go at Williams there, didn't quite commit to it, didn't quite get through. Jamie Bird is now trying to fight with Martina Ward. Phil Glover is having a barnstorming scrap down here with Kean Palmer. Kean had just got through over that as well. McRitchie's gone round. He's facing the complete opposite direction, and now Martina Ward for company has got Jamie Bird. That gap up front is not really changing at the moment, so I'm going to keep an eye on this Bird and Ward battle for a minute, because I think Bird is going to get Martina here, and I think he's going to get him either down out of the oak tree and on that run down into roller coaster.
That was very, very close to a big accident, really. Jamie Bird was trying to go down the inside of Martina Ward there, and it just wasn't happening. In the end, Martina holds on to the top 10. Just in front is Daryl Taylor, of course, in the multicoloured livery. We make our way up the hill now in towards the roller coaster again. It's going to be Martina Ward alongside Daryl Taylor on this occasion, turning defence into attack. Jamie Bird may well attack them both as well. Swoop in, you could say, on the positions for 9th place. And there goes Martina Ward through. Jamie Bird pushed out wide. Daryl Taylor hangs on to a top 10 for now, but surely this is a matter of time. Jamie Bird recovering places, of course, again, after spinning out of the oak tree corner.
Yeah, and again, he did it all on his own, which was a bit of a shame there. Luke Maxwell, his time has come down. Now it's roles reversed. We know where Edwards is quicker. We know where Maxwell's quicker. Maxwell's got sector 1 wrapped up. He's got a little bit of 2. They're very close in 2, but he has managed to get it wrapped up here as well with Simon Edwards. So it's now about what Maxwell is going to be able to do in that last sector, that sector that he does struggle with, and that's going to be the problem here for these guys. As you can see, Edwards is slower in sector 1, little bit quicker in sector 2. We know Maxwell struggles at South Bend. That's going to be his Achilles heel here, Ewan. He's got to try and manage and bury South Bend, because otherwise Edwards is going to get him on the next straight.
And traditionally, it's not been such a good part of the racetrack for him. He's a bit wide at Oak Tree as well. Simon Edwards may well have a chance here into the roller coaster, because that wasn't the ideal line that Luke Maxwell was really looking for. He knows to switch to the right-hand side. He knows that Edwards is going to want that side of the road, and so decides to take it for himself, but it may not matter. Simon Edwards is down the inside here, looking for the position again. Oh, and it's a great move into the roller coaster. Simon Edwards goes into 2nd place.
I'm wondering if Edwards is running nothing again, if he's running a 0 wing, because he just breezed past Maxwell there. Maxwell didn't seem to have a hope. You can see where Edwards has picked up the time on sector 2, 3, 4, 5, and sector 6. He's slower, but he's not really making a difference. Maxwell's got to sort out the middle sectors. He can get him in 1, which is great, but he's got to get him at other parts of the circuit. He's got to close up coming into the last 5 here, because it's going to be very, very tricky. James Barry's now trying to have a go at Daryl Taylor. Of course, Barry's on the recovery. Sheesh. That could have been a little bit more dangerous, and it was definitely well, they were close, I should say. That's about it.
We're close. Barry looks down the inside of Taylor again and won't go through here. Taylor with a hint of a defence even into turn 4, which is left hook, and that, well, it may not have been necessary, but he decided to do it anyway. James Barry still very close behind. If he can get alongside for the S's here, he could get it done now, and he does have the run. He has a slipstream, and he's almost going to bully Taylor out the way now. Side by side they go. They both give each other room. Oh, do they give enough? Yes, they do. James Barry gets through. That was impressive stuff in the end. But Daryl Taylor's the one who misses out. A good pass and good respect shown between the two of them as well.
Yeah, did an absolutely stellar job they did as we go on board with Palmer. Kean Palmer, of course, he's trying to get hold of Phil Jocelyn and James McRitchie. We know McRitchie's had his own little moments here once more. Now Maxwell didn't get Edwards down the straight again, because we know he struggles coming out of South Bend, coming out of that oak tree. It's going to be tough for Maxwell. I don't think think, and I'm not being detrimental to Luke, because Luke knows I love him and he's a nice guy and everything. I don't think he's going to have the pace on him. I just don't think he's going to have the pace, and I've got a funny feeling it's going to be Hutch, Edwards, Maxwell would be your 1, 2, 3, because I can't see Maxwell getting him unless Edwards makes a mistake, and I haven't seen much of that here this evening from Simon Edwards.
I can't see him making a mistake either. Simon Edwards, can't see Luke Maxwell getting through either. If that were to be the case, the championship lead would change hands and Simon Edwards would be the new leader by just 3 points. So watch out for that one towards the end of the day. Sergio De La Cruz is just in front of Mike Pearson, by the way, for 4th place. That's about what you can see just in the background. And James Barry has indeed got past Darrell Taylor and stayed past Darrell Taylor for 11th. He's still on the recovery drive as he tries to cling on to championship contention here this evening. Not sure whether he'll manage it or not. We'll do the maths on that in a second, or by we I mean I will. But anyway, Mike Pearson will try and go through in a sec here on Sergio De La Cruz. I reckon he's going to manage this at some point pretty soon. I think Sergio De La Cruz will do well to hang on here for the final 4.5 laps or so.
Yeah, but he's, as I said, this is the De La Cruz that we're expecting to see there. Now Buson pulls out. He hasn't quite got the pace to get alongside. Yay, Mike. God blimey, I thought that was it. I thought we were going to join the, Mike was coming into our chops then because he was that close to De La Cruz at that point. Martina Ward, I think, is just battling away with Jamie Bird. I think Bird's on our outside. There he is. And Bird has gone through there. So a great job from Jamie Bird. He is through and dusted. Darrell Taylor still trying to hang on to the back of James Barry. Not really making progress at the moment. So Taylor's lost more than he's gained, but he is +6 for this feature race, which is great for him. Clark Williams trying to go round the outside of Paul LeMay into turn 1. That's brave.
Yeah, Clark Williams has made a good recovery actually since his race 1, turn 1 incident with John McCutcheon. I do think he did come over on McCutcheon, but he may have a different viewing on that one.
He did.
Yeah, well, I think so, but I'm just saying he might have a different opinion. We'll find out, of course, at the end.
But he hasn't got an argument. I don't think he's got an argument.
Well,
he definitely did come over. He did come over, and that's John's going to tell us the same thing. He did come over, and we saw him come over. He was trying to avoid what was going on, trying to cover off the door, and didn't get it covered. So, there's nowhere. As the saying goes that I've used millions of times, he ain't Harry Potter here, Ewan. John can't just go poof and he's gone, you know what I mean? So unfortunately Williams is going to have to suck that one up. But Buson here and De La Cruz, Maxwell and Edwards are really close together, but I don't think Maxwell's going to have enough. But Buson is, and he goes through as well.
Yeah, so Buson, that pass was a few laps coming, I think, and Mike Pearson has now made his way through, although it was hard fought of Sergio De La Cruz. Then it's LeMay versus Williams into the roller coaster. LeMay, of course, recovering from that incident at this very corner a few laps ago. You'll be pleased with the fact that James Barry was disadvantaged a bit more than he was, although Barry has just got back into the top 10 again. Unless James Barry somehow makes his way inside the top 4 in this race, then this round will become a drop round. That's how he got through. Don't think there was contact. Martina Ward seemed to lose that on her own, maybe.
Yeah, there wasn't contact there at all. Martina Ward just put too much gas through that right foot of hers, and unfortunately lost it coming over the hill. But it's so easily done with that hill. It goes very up and down, and it's very tough for them guys to be able to do, keep that throttle in and not lose as much time. So it's not really a surprise, but this is. I was not expecting Maxwell this close as he's coming into the last 2 again. Watch the time as he comes through this left-hander. 2 temps, boom, out to 3 temps. You know what I mean? He can't bury that sunset corner, or that south bend, sorry, and he can't get it here. And it's 5 temps again, Ewan. It's the continuation once more for Maxwell, I'm afraid.
And the final corner is a problem for him as well. We were on board with him through one of the laps in the first race where we were going through the final corner, and it just wasn't quite close enough for Luke Maxwell, though he has made moves on other drivers through there, so maybe that is a sign of things, through turn 1 that is, maybe that's a sign of things in this battle as well. At 2.1 seconds, the gap is closing to John McCutcheon. I think they're going to run out of time before they catch him, though. 2 laps remaining now. Suggests they will need a second a lap and an overtake, which I can't see either happening in the remaining laps of this race.
No, you can see there are the lap times over the last 11 laps between the three. You can see Edwards and Maxwell's quicker, and they are quicker again. Nearly up 3 tenths for Edwards, 2 tenths for Maxwell over McCutcheon. But as you say, 2 seconds to make up within the last lap and a little bit. So I can't see that. I think John's been quite strong all the way through this, to be honest, and I think he's going to wrap it up. But just for John, I think he's probably more wishing to the fact that he could just get here at the beginning. Get your quali lap in, John. Get on the board and stop running from the back. We know you're capable, but it ain't doing you any good in that first race there, Ewan, and I think that's the problem. That's where McCutcheon's losing points, and he can't really keep and afford to keep losing points there.
Well, it's difficult to... If that's the earliest he can get back, then I don't know what he can do, really, unfortunately.
Oh, yeah, I'm not saying he's got to come out, not throw the last bowl or whatever. I'm just saying that if there is a way that he can do something, I don't know what. I'm not McCutcheon's scheduler, I'm not his secretary. I'm just saying, it's not like all of a sudden he can get halfway through the last game and go, right, gentlemen, sorry, I've got to go because I've got real, sim racing to do with, virtual cars on a virtual racetrack. It's just not going to happen. I'm just saying he's lost a bunch of points, 14 points in that first race. That's a big old chunk to try and claw back, and he's not really going to gain a massive amount here. He's going to gain 5 over Edwards, so that puts the 14 down to 9. Not an ideal scenario as we're coming on to the final lap.
Yeah, so he'll be 9 behind Edwards, as you say, and 6 behind Maxwell if things stay as they are. And into turn 1, they will stay as they are. Oh, will they? Well, we said Edwards wasn't making any errors. That was one. A bit of a lock up there from the 5-time champion, but the 1-time champion behind couldn't quite take advantage of that. And by the way, all of the drivers on the podium are previous champions of this series, adding up to what? The maths. 9? Is that 9, between them? Yeah, 9. So I couldn't.
Or was it 5
I had to get my fingers out there.
It's 5 for Edwards, isn't it? 2 for McCutcheon and 1 for Maxwell. So I'm pretty sure you can do 5, 6, 7, 8. 8. Is it 2 for McCutcheon?
McCutcheon's got 3, hasn't he? He's got 3.
So 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah, 9. Yeah. Good job.
Yeah, you were right with the wrong numbers. so
it makes
there
you
we
wonder
are.
how I taught maths at the school, doesn't it? Really?
No, don't ask us to do maths on the fly. I know I am doing maths with points, but that's a spreadsheet, so that's not really me.
Closer.
So
Ewan is closer.
He is a bit closer.
4.5. He was normally 5.9.
Let's see if he can get there. I'm not sure this is going to happen quite. I think it's going to just agonisingly slip away from us here. We're going to be denied the fight. Maxwell's too far back here, surely. It's a difficult corner at the best of times. You can't be late on the brakes and having a go. Edwards goes a little bit wide. It would have to be an error for Luke Maxwell to go through and recover this championship lead, retain the championship lead at the end of the day, but he's not going to do it. I don't think it's going to be a drag race towards the line. John McCutcheon's going to take it, though. It's more than or just under a second's worth of a victory in the feature race for him. And Luke Maxwell just misses out. Simon Edwards gets there to second in the end of the race, and he will take the championship lead as well with 4 rounds to go.
He tried. Buson and Dela Cruz crossed the line literally 1,000th of a second apart here. I just want to pick up on what Dela Cruz and Buson were up to, because they were incredibly close coming over the line. I'm wondering if this was Buson making an error or something, because Dela Cruz got very, very close. They are half a lap back at the moment, but boy, oh boy, Maxwell gave it a go. He just didn't quite have enough in the kitty to try and finish it off. We'll watch the ending of Buson and Dela Cruz. As I say, they finished off not very far apart, and I think Dela Cruz made the full use of that draft here, Ewan, and I think he really did close up, because Buson ended up behind him. So I want to see how Buson loses this now, because technically he should just be able to hold it, shouldn't he?
I would have thought so. And it seemed like a very late pass, so I'm interested to see what happens here. And I'm presuming the replay's not going to cut us off. I think we'll be fine because we're in race 2, so we can watch the end, thankfully. Dela Cruz then what's he going to do here to wrestle the place away from Boosen? Well, not a lot, really. Boosen went a bit wide into the grass, and here goes De La Cruz. I don't think Boosen will have been expecting this at all. He chases De La Cruz out to the outside as well, possibly straightening off the run for De La Cruz and actually losing him the place in the end. So that was a little bit of a bad moment for Mike Boosen there as he loses out on 4th place in the end. John McCutcheon was able to hold it to the end though, and he finished just under a second ahead of Simon Edwards and Luke Maxwell. De La Cruz stole that 4th place away from Boosen at the end, as we saw. Paul Clark ended up 6th ahead of Clark Williams. Paul LeMay dropped to 8th after his incident with James Barry, who finishes in 9th. Jamie Bird rounds out the top 10. Daryl Taylor got past Martina Ward for 11th in the end. Kean Palmer with a nice 13th place finish ahead of Phil Justin. Then Michael LeMay and Wayne Palmer, final drivers within a minute. Phil Glover over a minute back as a result of that incident on the first lap. James McRitchie finished a lap down. Jamie G never took part in the second race, unfortunately. Obviously, Patterson and Woodward did not either. Well, that's just about does it for VIR. Let's chat to some of the drivers, though, before we sign off for the evening, starting with John McCutcheon, the Race 2 winner. Welcome in, John. Good to have you with us. Those two were bearing down on you towards the end, but were you always comfortable and confident in your ability to close out that race?
I had it all under control, Ewan. No,
you don't sound sure.
No, I'm not. 'Cause I think I've only done 5 laps practice this week, so I wasn't in the best of form. I was still finding my way around there, so managed to squeak it.
Well, exactly. He managed to get round and get the win in the end after finishing 10th in the first race. Just tell us about what that first race was like. Of course, starting with lap 1, which obviously didn't go as you might have planned it.
Well, just managed to get in the rig just in time before the start. You know, they're away at the back and having to fight your way through. I felt like it took out in turn 1, the first race. I was more alongside the guy. I can't remember who it was. Green car.
Clark Williams.
And I think, yes, that's who it was. And I think I was a bit harsh with McRitchie, so I apologise to him for that. I don't know if he was letting me pass or not, and then no, it just got messy, so apologies to him. Well,
in the end, you managed to work your way through. But by the way, we did agree with you there, by the way, that it wasn't your fault on lap 1 for race 1. But there we go. We'll see how that goes later.
Makes a change, really. In terms we did agree with you, John.
Yeah, that's unusual. Yeah. And I get no damage as well. So.
Oh, no. Well done,
okay.
you.
That's a positive thing, at least, I suppose. But what about the rest of the season now, John? You obviously only still 9 points off the championship lead, I suppose, but obviously you've led for quite a lot of this season now. How are you feeling going into the final 4 rounds?
Well, it's difficult for me just now. I struggle to make qualifying, and you're starting at the back week in, week out. It's not good. If tonight I get lucky and finish in P10 and go for the second race, but that's not going to happen every week. So if I can make qualifying, sure, I'll bear me a chance, but I need to make the qualifying first.
Is it your bowls, John?
Yes, it is my bowls. Yeah. My big bowls.
You're just not winning soon enough. Is that what it is, or?
Well, it was a close game tonight. It was a draw tonight, so it was. Can't blame them for walking off early.
Okay.
I didn't know it was possible to draw in bowls. Thought you just carried on extra ends until it finished. No. But anyway. That's my knowledge exposed. Just quickly as well, are you in control of where the final race is as well? I know that was the case last season.
I believe so. I believe so. There could be a few saltires flying around.
Where are you going?
Okay.
Where do you think?
Knockhill.
I'm going home.
Yes, Knockhill. Come on, John. Love it.
I would love to go to Nords, but I know it's not a good broadcast, and so we'll go to Knockhill where it should be a good broadcast.
Oh, no, Knockhill was amazing. I'm not going to lie. Yeah. Last time out, it was awesome. So yeah, well done, you. Yeah. Proud of that one.
We enjoyed it, and it's 1 million laps or whatever it is you get to do around there as well. It's so short.
45 seconds a lap.
Yeah, and he hasn't said he's going on the reverse circuit as well, so they've all got to do it backwards.
That's a good idea.
Thank you.
I've never done that. I've never driven it like that, so that's a really good idea, actually.
Yeah, see, there you go.
Well,
creating new formats. The whole of the Discord now.
Exactly. We're upsetting everyone. Before we upset too many more people, is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out to, John, before we let you go?
a shout out to everyone in the RRS series. It's all really good fun and good driving, good racing.
Absolutely. Congratulations on the second race win, John, and we'll see you next week, hopefully.
Thanks, Ewan. Thanks, James.
Take care, mate.
Thanks very much.
Bye, guys.
John McCutcheon there, race winner for race 2. 10th, of course, in race 1. Second place in the second race was Simon Edwards. Of course, he won the first race as well. Welcome in, Simon. Good to have you with us. You got ahead of Luke in both the first and second races in the end, and we were speculating about how much wing angle you had on that car tonight. Was it a low downforce Simon Edwards special again?
It was probably lower than everybody else, so, but it wasn't that low. So I was on the rear end. I was a couple of clicks down, probably where everybody was, and I was running a bit less front downforce as well.
Well, I can't imagine many people were running much low or far away from high downforce tonight as a result of this circuit. Was that especially noticeable then in your battle with Luke Maxwell in the end? Because you found it fairly easy to get through in the end, actually, but he found it very difficult. Did it certainly feel like that as you were driving, as you were battling?
Yeah, I did feel like if I got into somebody's draft along the big back straight up the hill, I could probably get them, either side of them. It depends how risky they wanted to break into that last chicane, the top chicane at the top. So, yeah, I felt reasonably confident in there. I was umming and ahhing if I was going to drop an extra wing on for the long race just to preserve the tyres a bit, but I just took it easy through some of the corners because I knew I could catch them up in the hairpin. So I was just taking it a bit easier on the first section, and then I could just take like 0.3, 0.4 out of them in one corner into the tree corner. I forgot what it's called. Oak tree corner.
Oak tree, yes. Oak tree. In the championship as well, by the way, you've taken over the championship lead, but because it's so close between you and Luke, does it actually matter who's leading at this stage?
No, not at all. And John, it doesn't matter really where John is. We've all had our 3 drop weeks now. So it'll be virtually every point will count now, really. So
that is true.
Yeah. So so it's going to go up and down a bit. I mean, we've got. Is it Jerez next week?
It is.
Yeah. I mean, I liked it more than I thought I would last time we were there, but it is a bike track, so smaller cars is probably better on it than F1 cars and stuff.
Well, possibly, but me and James don't particularly like it, so
no.
we'll look forward to that.
You didn't like this one, did you?
No, I did.
Well, I don't. James does. Yeah, I don't particularly like VAR. I've got to say, it was decent tonight. It wasn't so bad. I've got to say, I really don't like driving it though. You're right. It's not good. Is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out to, Simon, before we let you go?
I'm going to give a shout out to my mum because she's lost her partner, my stepdad, recently, and she's on her own at the moment. So I'll give a shout out to my mum.
Indeed, shout out to her. Simon, congratulations on winning the first race tonight, of course, and second in the second race as well. We look forward to seeing you next week.
Yeah. See you then. Bye-bye.
Thanks very much, Simon Edwards there, chatting to us at the end of round 8 of the Radical Race Series. Luke Maxwell came in just behind him in race 2, and he can chat to us now as well. Welcome in, Luke. Good to have you alongside us. Was it a frustrating night for you today, looking at the back of Simon Edwards for quite a lot of those 22 laps that we had over the course of the 2 races?
Not really. I think in race 1, I saw how quick James Barry was and thought it's probably best if I just try and sit in Simon's toe, because in all of the sessions in the practice, he was. I checked in his quali runs, his shorter runs, and his longer runs. He was about 0.3 quicker than me, most of the way around. And I thought, well, let's use Simon and see if we can make sure we finish 1-2, and then see how the feature goes. But in the feature, I put an extra bit of wing on just to try and protect the tyres a bit, and I could see Simon was catching me on that straight. And I thought, if I don't battle, let's see if we can use Simon to pull up into John, but it just wasn't quite enough. So I tried to have a go back on the last lap. But overall, it's not one of my favourite circuits, so I'm reasonably pleased with that. I think championship-wise, it's okay. So, yeah, I'll take it.
Well, as Simon was saying, you have lost the championship lead, but does it really matter at this point? He said no. And
No,
I guess you would
not
say
really.
a similar thing, because the distance he was behind you is about the distance you're behind him now, and it's very easy to change hands. So, it
absolutely.
probably doesn't matter at this stage.
No, exactly. I think of the tracks we got to go, not only Bathurst really is one I tend to go really well at. I know Hereth and Canadian Tire Motorsports Park on the last one should be okay, but I think Simon's quick there as well. So we'll see how we go. Hopefully with a bit of luck. At least I'm in with a shout this time. That's the main thing.
That is the main thing as well. And that, as you say, that hasn't happened last season, of course. How are you feeling about Jerez specifically? I mean, it is a bike circuit, but how do you go around there generally?
I'm thinking my tyres are probably going to be a problem. Thunderfoot on the throttle there. So I'll have to get a bit of practice in at the weekend and see how we go. But I think went okay there last time. So I don't know, not massively excited by it. More excited by Bathurst, if I'm honest.
I'm not sure most people are very excited by Jerez, to be honest. I think everyone would much rather Bathurst. But anyway, it's where we go to next week. Is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out to, Luke, before we let you go?
No, I haven't thought of anyone this week, so no silly suggestions, I'm afraid.
Well, that's fine. Luke, congratulations on a double podium here tonight, at least, and we look forward to seeing you next week.
Cheers, guys. All the best.
Thanks very much, Luke Maxwell there. Second and third tonight in the races. Now to Phil Glover, who we always chat to at the end of these Radical Race Series evenings. Welcome in, Phil. Good to have you alongside us again as well. It was difficult for you in the second race, I think it's fair to say. Let's get that out the way first. I didn't actually catch what happened to you on the first lap. I'm not sure if we saw it on the stream, but I didn't catch it myself. What did happen to you?
So it wasn't turn one. It was turn one's kind of a longish one, isn't it? It was the left turn two. There was quite a lot of us there, and I just took it too wide and just went onto the grass, and then so back to the back. I think. Are you playing it now? Yeah, just too wide, wasn't I? Mm-hmm. So it put me right at the back. In fact, very similar to what happened last week, actually. Something like that happened to me last week. So, better to talk about race one, I guess.
Yeah.
I need to make an apology as well to, I think it was James Ritchie, because on the very last lap on turn one, I took the inside and I just couldn't get it stopped. So I apologise at the time. It was fine, but I'd rather it hadn't happened, obviously.
I don't know what's happened to James Ritchie tonight, but he's getting a lot of apologies. So I think he's been through it.
He put himself in it, didn't he?
It is to put one of those poles out the back with a few sparks coming at the top.
He could have done with that tonight, by the sounds of it, because I think he's been bashed around a bit by a few people. So difficult evening for him. What about race one for you, Phil? I mean, I did notice you actually up towards the front in that first race after the start. I mean, it did seem to spread apart quite a lot, actually, off of the start of race one, which I guess happens at this circuit.
I got a reasonable start. I didn't go back on the grid. Quite often I tend to go back on the grid and then have to make even more places up. But I got a reasonable start, I think. I probably got to 11th and then dropped down, finished 13th. I remembered John, obviously, on my tail. He was always going to pass me. So I think Phil and I had a bit of a... going to say jostle then, which is probably right, isn't it?
We've used it, so
yeah. Oh, it's okay then. A couple of times, and that was good fun. So, mid pack in that race wasn't too bad. I think I've only ever raced here once before. We don't tend to use it very often. It's quite a technical track, isn't it?
Very technical, very difficult as well. But actually, pretty good racing, pretty clean. Driving for everyone, actually, over the course of the day, considering the challenge that the circuit provides. Is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out to, Phil, before we let you go?
Well, I think it's great to see Martina back on the grid, and she finished fairly well, I think, this evening, didn't she? So, great to see Martina out.
Yeah, good to see her back again, and to say a decent evening as well. Phil, thanks for coming to chat to us again. We look forward to seeing you next week at Jerez when we'll have another round of this series, of course. But hopefully we'll see you next week.
That was the track. We were all. I wasn't sure where it was last time. I think I said it was in Czechoslovakia or somewhere, or Outer Mongolia. I think. Yeah.
Outer Mongolia. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, I wonder when Outer Mongolia circuits will start coming to the UR racing. Not soon, I would imagine.
Anyway, at least I know where it is. I know where it is this time, so that helps. At least I'll get there.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. See you later, guys.
See you later.
Yes,
Phil.
we'll see you there, Phil.
Cheers. Bye.
Be on the flight wondering why it's taking so long. Anyway, to Spain. That's Phil Glover chatting to us at the end of round 8 of the Radical Race Series here this evening. Heading to Jerez for round 9. Well, another evening down, James. I've got to say it wasn't quite as entertaining as Brands Hatch, but not many circuits are. I think that's fair to say. But decent overall, and we're now in the final third of the season.
Yeah, we are. It's a shame it's coming to the end again. These seasons absolutely fly by. Now, obviously, we've got our ref. Then we've got Mount Panorama, which I'm excited for as well at Parfitt. So I think that should be a good one. Canadian Tire, again, always delivers great racing. And, of course, we've got the last race of the season, which is Knock Hill Reverse. I don't think I don't know if it's going to go the reverse route.
I think that's going to catch on.
Yeah, but I think Knock Hill should be a good one for Endon as well. Great racing. It was great racing. When we went there last time, I think me and you were just like, oh my God, this is amazing. So yeah, I think it's going to be a good run in. The front three, maybe Barry, if he can have a good week, might get involved to make it a 4. But at the moment, it's looking like the normal front 3 between them. So excited for the next few rounds. Should be really good.
It should. James Barry, by the way, is, I think, 25 points adrift now of the championship, so needs a good week next week and needs a good final 4 weeks, actually. He had a really good start to the season. Unfortunately, this middle part has been a bit of a struggle for him, and he's lost a bit of ground there. But let's see what happens in 1 week's time. Make sure you return again here for the Radical Race Series. We'll be back same time, same place. Subscribe to the JPB YouTube channel to catch all the other racing that is going on over the course of not only this evening, but, of course, all the other evenings of the week as well. There's plenty to go and watch. So a big thank you to everyone who's tuned in here this evening. I've been Ewan O'Leary alongside James Parfitt once again. And until we see you in 1 week's time at Jerez for round 9, it's goodbye for now.